Hello, I'm Attila, and today I will talk about the Price of Tomorrow book. And this was a very interesting book on technological innovation, like our economy and like the future, and about inflation and deflation. So, our economic system is based on inflation, and like inflation is a part of the past, according to this book, because like inflation is kept up by the government. They are working very hard to keep like 2 to 3% inflation world around the world, uh, inflation rate around the world, because like they have tremendous amount of debts, and with inflation it's easy to pay debts, but with deflation it would be like impossible. And like our world is based on debt. The 2008 crisis was because credit was removed. Of course, it was because like real estate, but it was because like they put too much debt on certain amount of real estate, and our world is based on credit and like this mutual trust, and the countries are investing in each other. So it told an example of the eurozone when like the euro was introduced into Europe as the currency. Like Germany and Greece. Germany had like a much bigger economy, but Greece, the economy of Greece was developing, and Greece needed credit, and German banks were able to invest in Greece economy, and because of that they had like money because they gave credit. And the ones who don't have access to credit suffer in our current world. So developing countries, they or like poor countries, they don't have entrepreneurs don't have access to debt, so they don't have access to capital because they can't raise debt, because their real estate system is not clear. And I made a video on that. I will put it on the screen now, and it's in the description. So, but technology is deflationary. So that's like the controversy in the book. We over time we get greater benefit and the price continues to fall. So think about like for example TVs. In the past they were like this giant big box, and now they are this super thin, and they are much cheaper, and they didn't keep up with inflation. They actually, the price decreased, and we get much greater benefit. We can access YouTube, and we can access all the knowledge on the internet. So capitalism is based on a near constant flow of innovative entrepreneurs breaking monopolies and then themselves creating new ones. I loved this quote. And like the problem is that now technology is disrupting many of the old companies, but that's completely normal. So for example, Amazon is disrupting Walmart, and like libraries were the thing of the past. Amazon is disrupting them, and but the problem is that in the future AI and data will dominate like the landscape and dominate the companies. And the problem is that entrepreneurs, like starting entrepreneurs, won't have access to data, as much data as the old companies like the Google and Amazon of our times. So because AI will dominate everything, they won't be new innovative entrepreneurs won't be able to compete with the old Googles and Amazons who have tremendous market share and tremendous data. So this constant flow of entrepreneurs will stop, and that will be our problems, because like these Google and Amazon will build a monopoly that can't be broken, except by the government. So these platforms, Amazon, Google, gained a tremendous market share because network effect. So like they with data they were able to gain more market share, and with more market share they were able to gain more data. And then it returned to debt. So the world's debt has grown 50% since the global financial crisis of 2008. So the normal process would be that there is a financial crisis and the debt would be written down. So they would restructure it or they would erase it completely. But the problem was that, and then of course there would be like a end of world mood and everyone would suffer. But it's like this natural cleaning process is built into the economy and it's completely normal. But instead of that, the government printed more money and they gave out stimulus. So they kept these big banks and big companies like alive. And instead of like erasing debt, like the world's debt has grown. And it was very interesting because after this I looked up on the world's debt or the US government's debt since 2008, and I saw that like after 2008 the debt would decrease because they would spend less and they would pay their debt. And then in 2020 that would increase again because the government started printing money. But instead of that picture, like the debt just increased since then. So like the government didn't spend less. So that's like a big problem. And this book says that like the governments might fail as a result of that. And it's hard to think about this failing government because we like take it for a fact that our government will live forever, but it's just a belief, it's not a fact. And our minds is like a very interesting phenomenon. We learn things, we like commit them to our memory, and then we rely on them. We never question them again, because if we questioned all things that we store in our memory, that would require a lot of energy, and we don't have energy. We don't have that much energy, so we only like put energy into things that we like concentrate on at the moment. So if we learn something that, for example, the governments are indestructible, we never question that like fact again in our mind. So then it talked about like technology. Technologies will replace every job because most of us work in the inefficiencies that technology will replace. So for example, take a grocery store. Like there is this cashier, there is people who fill up the shelves. In the future, like robots might fill up the shelves, or there will be cashless groceries. But I think the most likely scenario will be that like our fridge will see what it lacks or what we don't have, and then it will order that, and self-driving cars will like deliver it to our homes, and robots will fill up the fridge, so we don't have to worry about any of that with zero human intervention. And the simple power of technology is that it allows for abundance without the same number of jobs or income if we let it. So with robots and algorithms, we won't need that many people so working in these factories, but like these factories will create goods without us. And if we let this happen, if we let like the power of technology live. And then I talk about like energy consumption reflects economic growth, and currently our energy is based on fossil fuels, but like the simple law of thermodynamics is that we generate more heat into the atmosphere, and this heat will stay here. So the problem is that like we have a constant like inflow of fossil fuels, or like we have a like a set amount of fossil fuels, and we just generate more heat into the atmosphere, and like global warming is a result of that. But then it told us like renewable energies our solution, in that the solar power is like the most likely candidate at the moment, and the price of solar power will keep energy price falling. So like it's also deflationary. Just look at the cost of solar and the cost of solar power, and it decreased over time dramatically. And because energy is a major input to almost anything, like we need energy to everything, it's deflationary, because we have more energy for less price, and with inflation we would have less energy for the same number, for the same price over time. Then I talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will arrive. It is only a question of timeline. It is not a question of if, but when. So we have to like prepare for it. And the error correction is the basis of all intelligence. So that's like the first assumption, is like error consumption is the basis of all intelligence, because we have this knowledge, and we have this access to this knowledge, to access to information, and we have access to this information, and this access to information enables progress, because if we have like the knowledge of past generations, we can work we can work on that, and we can correct the mistakes of that past generation. And this information and the knowledge have been expanding exponentially as we build on past learnings and as we improve our technology. And after a while, we won't be able to keep up with this tremendous knowledge and information in the internet and on the world. And I think currently we can't keep up with them. So we have this tremendous knowledge, all the information of the world on the internet, and one person just can't absorb it all. But with this tremendous amount of information and compute power, computers will be able to make better decisions than us. So current platforms use narrow artificial intelligence. So YouTube only uses intelligence to recommend videos for us, and Google only uses intelligence to list its pages and to recommend good pages to you. But like a general artificial intelligence will be able to do anything. So it will be able to recommend you videos on YouTube, and it will be able to recommend you groceries on Amazon, and it will be able to play chess with you and like beat you. So these tech products are designed with physiologists and physiology in mind. So they make us like very, very addicted to them. So like the red button on Facebook, or the red button like makes us like, we think that it's a threat and we must check it because our survival depends on it. And humans have a tendency to create us versus them. And like this extremism is on the rise throughout the world. But like that's not good. So Democrats hate Republicans and Republicans hate Democrats, and like these two sides are becoming more distant of each other. And but we are humans, and we should be like, we should cooperate, and we should work towards the same goals, because we have the same goals, like to enable human progress and make the world a better place for everyone. But this book says that like we have hope on the horizon, because with technological innovation there will be less incentive to cheat or betray each other, because most of us cheat or betray each other for resources. So your nation can have more energy, and it can be more prosperous. But with technological abundance, we will have way cheaper energy, and we will be able to make everyone prosperous. So there will be less economical incentive. And like the last message of this book, that we should embrace deflation, because deflation is good for us, because you have to work, but after a while you will be able to buy more for the same amount of money. But I'm not sure whether this is good or bad, whether deflation is good, because just imagine, when you enter into the workforce, you get a set number, you get a wage, and as you get older your wage will decrease, and that's have a very negative effect on you, because you don't like seeing your wage decreasing. So that's one problem, and governments might not let us embrace deflation, because then they will fail because of that tremendous amount of debt. So this book was very interesting. I love thinking about the future and what possible solutions do we have for our problems and what our problems are. So I would absolutely recommend you to read this book if you are interested in stuff like this, but I think I made a great summary out of it. If you are interested in more videos or more books like this, then you should subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow my podcast. And you can also recommend me some books on Twitter or in the YouTube comment section below. So that's it for today. Thank you for coming in. Bye bye.